Hello, and welcome to this exciting edition of the Animal Intuitive Show. I'm so happy that you're here tonight because I have a very special guest with me. This is the founder and owner of the Northwest School of Animal Massage. Her name is Lola Michelin, and I'm going to introduce her in a little bit, but I just want to give you an overview of what the show is going to be about tonight. So Lola has been improving the lives of animals for over 30 years through massage. As I mentioned, she's the founder of the Northwest School of Animal Massage, and that is one of the top animal massage schools in the world. I'm so glad that she actually did found that because that is the school that I attended for my massage certification with animals. She has a degree in animal science. She has experience as a zookeeper, pathology technician, a veterinary technician. She is also an accomplished author and global speaker. And she has students training at shelters like the Best Friend Animal Sanctuary in Oregon, Humane Society. And she also runs a retirement and rehabilitation center for horses. She also serves as the vice chair of the National Board of Certification for Animal Acupressure and Massage. And her experiences are really interesting. She's going to be sharing some of those experiences with us. And you're also going to get to hear about how massage can help to support your pets. Feel free to add any questions at any point, and we're going to try to get to all of those questions. We may not get to them right away, but we will try to cover them all throughout the broadcast. And also hang tight because there will be a special offer that Lola's making at the end, and you also can win a chance to, or have a chance to win a free animal communication session with me. You just have to type in there at some point the word intuitive, and I'll see that and know that you want to be entered for that. And at the end, I'll announce that winner. And if you're excited to be here like we are, please don't keep it a secret. Let your friends know that you are here in whatever way you can. So welcome, Lola.
Hello, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, I'm thrilled that you're here.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we have some people jumping on right now. Thank you, everyone who's hopping on. We have Jean. Thank you so much for being here. And so, Lola, let me ask you, how did you end up founding the Northwest School of Animal Massage? What led up to that? Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, the school came about in 2001, and it was at the encouragement of some colleagues at the time that I was working with. And it was also in response to changes that were happening here in Washington State. Some of the legislative changes were in place, and there weren't really education programs available that met the new requirements. So initially, the school was developed just to meet the needs of continuing education for massage therapists within Washington State, but it just continued to grow from there. For me, it came out of years of practicing. I had been practicing for about 15 years when I moved to Seattle. And I had taken many different programs over the years because when I started doing massage, there were no actual dedicated animal massage programs. So I had to kind of cobble together different trainings, including veterinary technician and human massage therapy and other things to kind of put together a form of massage. And I also did a lot of mentorship. So those experiences, which were all wonderful, encouraged me to try to share that with others in the form of the curriculum that we have today.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like a lot of work that you put into that.
A labor of love.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit about your background as far as, it sounds like you had a lot of different experiences that led up to this. Maybe just tell us a little bit more about where you were in your travels. I remember sort of a little bit of that when I was training with you. There's some interesting stories about how you got to that point where the animals that you kind of got to practice, for lack of a better word, and
Sure.
train on.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned in the intro, I kind of bounced around to a lot of different jobs in the animal world. So even in high school, I was working in vet clinics. And when I went to Michigan State University, it was with the intention of going to vet school. I was working as a veterinarian technician at the racetracks during my college years, and that was my first exposure to animal massage. So I kind of thought, well, this is very interesting. It's not, on my pathway necessarily, but it was intriguing to me. And the more I was moving down the road of going through vet school, I realized maybe I want to do something different. And so that's how I ended up working at the zoological parks. Was after college, just trying to find jobs that kept me in the animal field, but maybe in different aspects. So ultimately, I think all of those different experiences really added value to the work that I do now. But it definitely was kind of trying to find myself and trying to find my calling in the animal field. And until I met my mentor, it was just a matter of gathering experiences. But I did end up working in the zoological field at doing education, consumer education, but also working as a zookeeper, and that opened some really great doors into the massage world as well.
Sure, absolutely. That kind of brings me to my next question. So we want to hear about your zoo experiences as well as your domesticated animal experiences, and wondering how you have seen massage help in both of those areas.
Well, so my initial clients were all in the horse world. So the majority of the animals that I was massaging starting out were racehorses and show horses. And then when after I was working at the zoo and had left, I was invited back by friends of mine to work with some of the animals in the nursery and in the collection. And a lot of people always will ask me, well, what's the most unusual animal that you worked on? And I think there's a long list of them. Some of my favorite to work on were primates, giraffe, because I love giraffes, and a lot of the birds that I worked on in the zoos were fascinating to me as well. So um, there were several zoos that were involved in getting their zookeeper staff and their training staff and their vet staff trained to do massage to help with enrichment programs or to help the animals that were in the veterinarian hospital and the zoo hospital. So that has been very rewarding work for me as well.
Sure, absolutely. So if you could just tell us a little bit about when you think about massage and animals, where do you see, especially when people come for massage for their animals, where do you see massage really coming into play and being helpful?
Yeah. Well, I think it's helpful on many levels. I think pet owners and animal owners can learn basic massage that has some real benefit for them in their relationship with their pets. Massage is a great way to build the bond with your pet. It's a great way to add confidence and security to an animal. It can be helpful in stressful times if you have to take your dog or cat to the vet, or if your horse is sick. It can be really comforting as a pet owner to have a tool that you can use to keep them calm or keep them restful until they can get the help they need. But probably one of the biggest benefits, I think, for pet owners and animal owners is being able to monitor your pet's health. So, basic massage tools can be used just to keep track of your pet's health, and then you're more likely to notice things when they're very early on or they're just starting out to be a problem. And that's going to give you a lot more options in terms of care or addressing an issue than having to wait until it's very obvious and then we have limited choices. So I think there is an aspect of massage that is very just helpful on an intimate level between animals and their owners or guardians. And then in the professional ranks, the opportunities to work professionally with animals in this field is great because I think it offers a way to be involved in the animal community for people that maybe don't want to pursue a career in the veterinarian field or don't have the resources to have animals of their own, but want to be part of that community. So I think it can be a really rewarding profession. And it's really helpful for the animals because just like people, our animals are faced with so many stressors today, environmental stressors, just home life, being exposed to chemicals, all of the things that make us sick as well tend to affect our animals on a much accelerated basis. So your dogs and your cats, when they're exposed to toxins in the environment or stress or noise pollution, it's going to have a bigger impact on them much faster. And massage is a great tool for mitigating some of the effects of that.
Yeah, I find that so much. I'm so happy that I can sit down with my animals and just give them that break from all those stressors, like you're saying. It's wonderful, and I think people can do it at home too. You know, even if they're just doing basic massage, it really does help just to know you can do it, even if you're not a professional. So maybe talk a little bit more about that giraffe. Tell us that story.
Sure. Well, so there actually were several giraffes over the years, but one of them was a giraffe named Rafiki, and he was at a zoo in Florida, and we just had a very special bond. He didn't have a particular health issue, but he had been a wild giraffe, and so I think transitioning to living in captivity, even though he had amazing keepers and a beautiful area and acres of land that he could roam on, and females as well. It was a transition for him from the wild to captivity. So massage was really great because it helped the keepers uh, be able to do certain routine medical procedures or things that they had to do, even just something as simple as getting weights or getting bloods to just keep track of his health, administering medications if necessary, trimming his hooves. All of those were things that traditionally in a lot of zoos, animals would have to be tranquilized for these basic procedures. And so, it gives you less than ideal data, but also it's stressful for both the keepers and the animals to have to tranquilize them and immobilize them. And with a giraffe, you're talking about an enormous animal that, tranquilizing them has a lot of risks. So our goals in working with that zoo, my goal was to help the keepers and help Rafiki learn to be able to do those procedures. So the massage was positive reinforcement for him so that they could do things without having to tranquilize them, which was great. And we also used that same program with some of the primates. So gibbons and howler monkeys, we trained them to volunteer themselves for blood draws so that they didn't have to be tranquilized for them. And the massage was, you can't always rely on food reward. So massage was used as a positive reinforcer. So that's my Rafiki story. The other giraffe story is we had a female giraffe at one of the zoos that I was involved with who had to have foot surgery. And so, the last thing the employees at a zoo want to do is have to lay a giraffe down for surgery. Statistically, the outcomes are not good. So, and it's very intensive to, protect them and keep them safe. And the veterinarian who was performing the surgery along with a horse farrier that came in to do some of the surgical procedure, he was very concerned about her safety and making sure that her neck was supported and that it didn't stiffen up during the surgery. So we had actually a team of 4 veterinarian technicians and myself who did massage on her throughout the surgery. So once she was immobilized, we were doing massage on her neck, and we were also doing a form of massage called manual lymphatic drainage, which helps with immune system function and keeping the lymph fluid movement moving, which helped her to recover much quicker, so that once they withdrew the anesthesia, she woke up very quickly. She was able to get up and be mobile without being ataxic or problematic. And so that was really rewarding. And the veterinarian was very excited that there was a massage therapist available for that surgery. He hadn't had that opportunity before, and he said that he thought it made a huge difference in the outcomes.
That's so amazing. What did it feel like to be massaging a giraffe?
Yeah, it's pretty, they're big. I mean, you don't have to be right next to them to know they're big, but when you are right up close with them, they're amazing animals, and it's somewhat hypnotic in a way to be that close to wildlife, and it felt very felt very powerful to be in her presence, but also to know that we were helping her. It's a real nice gift, blessing.
Yeah, what an amazing experience. I'm sure everyone's enjoying. I'm getting some messages here. People just, as Donna says, how do you massage a giraffe?
Really, it's not different than massaging a horse or a dog. It's just a bigger canvas, but the physiology is very similar, and so many of the techniques are the same.
Yes, and Dawn Marie Turner up in Quebec is just mentioning Canada says that massage would be useful for animals at our local zoo, Park Safari. I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
That zoo up there. So that actually is a question I have. It's great that veterinarian was so receptive. Are you finding that veterinarians are becoming more and more receptive?
I think it has changed so much over the last 15 years. I've been massaging animals for 30 years, and in the very beginning, some veterinarians were very curious but not certain about the value of massage. Other veterinarians were concerned that people would maybe use massage in place of proper veterinarian care, or that people would, put kind of faith in people. And also, I think they were concerned that massage therapists might be doing things outside of their scope of practice or providing people information they weren't really trained to provide. So there was, concern early on. But over the years, I've seen more and more development in the relationships between the massage community and other animal therapies and veterinarian medicine. And now I think it's a great collaboration. Many of our students are veterinarian technicians or vet assistants. We have clinics who send their staff through our program so that they can offer massage in clinic, which is such a great evolution. I'm really excited about the future of massage within veterinarian clinics and working hand in hand with the vet community. I think they are much more aware now of the benefits, and also with things like chiropractic and acupuncture and energy medicine becoming so much more mainstream, there's less of that resistance or concern.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's been a while since I graduated. It's kind of amazing me how much time has gone by, but I've seen that too, just as gradually a change in the attitude. So it's very interesting. We're going to talk too in a little bit about if people are interested in training for themselves, how they can do that, a little bit about the program too. So I know that's something that comes up a lot for people. A lot of people want to adopt animals. They get animals, and I've been through this a number of times myself. Animals come to us who have been through a lot. They've had traumas, they've had major stressors. So I was curious if you could talk a little bit about that, how massage helps specifically in those areas.
Well, there is an aspect of massage that's really beneficial in terms of behavior. I think a lot of rescue animals are, uncertain what their new life is about, and even though it's all good change when they get adopted and they go home to a loving family, it's still change. And so for many of them, it's just one more transition that they have to face, and one more uncertainty. So I think massage, especially if massage is provided at the shelter, and then when the animal is taken home, it's kind of it's something consistent in their life. It's something they were exposed to during their time at a shelter or sanctuary, and then it carries over into the home. So I think that that's really valuable because it can just provide some continuity for them. And then the bonding, as I mentioned before, for the pet owner, the guardian, to be able to provide basic massage and to have a professional that's guiding them in terms of what their animal's needs might be, really helps to cement that relationship and provide comfort. From an anatomical standpoint, a lot of those animals are also debilitated. Their nervous systems might be pretty frayed, and massage can be very helpful and restorative for them in terms of just getting their physiology back online. I know, regardless of the species, many animals come into their new home with gastrointestinal concerns just because their gut biome is disrupted and upset. And they may have been they might have gone from eating scraps in the street, whatever they could find, to eating food in the shelter, which might have been good food, but it's often, donated kibble, or the shelter may have to be relying on the resources that they can get. And so a lot of times they're going into a home with all sorts of internal concerns that massage can help with their metabolism, with getting their gut biome back on track, along with, of course, proper nutrition and care.
Yeah, it was so wonderful when I talked about this in the last episode about helping animals with transition and trauma when I brought our dog Kane home, the German Shepherd. He'd been through a lot, both physically and emotionally. And I remember when he just let out this big sigh while I was giving him a massage. And you just think he'd been just holding that tension for so long. And it was just like, okay. And it just increased our bonding so much to be able to do that with him. So I was very grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's been amazing over the last 15 years. We've taught classes in a lot of shelters around the country. So many of our satellite campuses, our classes are held at sanctuaries throughout the country and even outside of the country. And it's always amazing to me to see how the change in the animals from the beginning of the week to the end of the week, and how much more relaxed they are, how much more social they become, how much more like kind of just in their body they feel. Not to mention outwardly, you can see the improvement in their coat, in the shine in their eyes, in their appetite. So it's been reinforced every time I go into those environments and I see our students working with those animals, how ready they are, even if they're fearful, even if they haven't had much socialization. There's still that curiosity that once they feel safe with somebody that's touching them, they're so keen to form that relationship.
Definitely. And that actually reminds me of when I was training and we were at a shelter. I don't remember the name of it. I think we were in Washington, D.C. area, and it was the dogs, the Michael Vick, unfortunately, dog situation. There were some of those rescues there, and how rewarding that was. Just to be able to give them that break.
That's a great example. Those dogs, many of them ended up at Washington Animal Rescue League and other shelters. A good number of them ended up at Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Utah, where we also teach. And we had opportunities to work with several of those dogs over the years. And, every one of those dogs, except for the few that didn't survive, who either passed away at shelters, but of the ones adopted, most of them are in service jobs. Most of those dogs went on to become therapy dogs.
Wow.
Or working dogs. A few of them are, used in search and rescue. It really was as tragic as it was. It was really those dogs turned around and
that's wonderful
situations. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful to hear that after all these years. It's great. So maybe tell us a little bit about the training that you do at the
Sure.
Best Friends and how you
we have a number of different programs, as you know, as a graduate. Some of our programs are geared towards consumers, so pet owners can take our Fundamentals in Animal Massage course. It's just a one-day afternoon course to learn basic skills. We have some online courses that are self-paced courses for consumers as well. But the primary focus of the Northwest School of Animal Massage is our certification programs. Mm-hmm. So we have both a small animal program for cats and dogs and a large animal program for horses and livestock. And under each of those, we have 3 levels of training. All of our students start out at what we call our foundation level, which teaches maintenance massage, the anatomy, a lot of basic behavior, handling, and it's offered as a blended learning or a hybrid format. So people can do a lot of the theoretical study online at our online learning center. And then once they've completed their online learning, they come for hands-on training at any of our locations. So there's 5 days of hands-on training for each level of study. And some people just do that first level, and if they're working with their own animals, or maybe they're providing massage in a shelter environment, that will be enough to get them going. But most people come back, as did you, for our rehabilitation massage program or our performance massage program. Each of those certifications focus on different aspects of animals' activities or animals' health, and each level has different massage techniques.
Excellent. And it's very thorough. I mean, I think sometimes, although now it's shifting, people are doing so much online, but maybe people think, well, how does that work if you're doing some of the distance online? Or it's extremely thorough, and you really do just learn so much. It's really incredible, the depth of knowledge that you get. So
thank you. And the curriculums are constantly evolving, and we get lots of input from other professionals. So in recent years, we added an acupressure program. Kim Bauer, who's one of the foremost acupressure practitioners in the country and has taught internationally, developed a program for us along with Dr. Michael Vick, who's a traditional Chinese medicine veterinarian. So that program is really, really in-depth and just amazing information there. And yeah, it was definitely a goal of mine in starting the school that we offered a flexible learning format to people, but that content, was going to be a high standard, so that when people went out and practiced, they would elevate the profession from its beginnings.
Yeah, and you've actually spoken internationally, right? You've been invited out to, was it Japan?
Yeah, last year I went to Japan, and that was wonderful. Actually, one of our graduates, Megumi, who is working at a rehab center in Kyoto, her veterinarian practice invited us to come and speak in 4 cities to the Japanese Veterinarian Medical Association and medical veterinarian students. So that was wonderful. We also traveled to Guadalajara and spoke to a group of veterinarians there, and we'll be returning to Mexico in the future to teach classes as well. So that's been wonderful to see how it doesn't matter where you go in the world, people love their pets and want the best for their pets.
Did you actually find, I kind of wonder if you're going out to the East because of their tradition of acupressure, acupuncture, and just, more holistic. Did you feel that it was just natural to them, to the veterinarians there, and how was it received there?
Well, I think one thing that was true about that trip is the level of curiosity. It's fascinating. So they were very, very curious about the massage, about how it complemented acupuncture and acupressure. They were very curious about energy medicine, Reiki. So it was exciting to hear their questions and see the excitement.
Yeah, very interesting, I'm sure. So that kind of brings me to, as an animal communicator, what do you feel the connection is between animal massage and animal communication? Do you feel there is a connection?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I think they stand alone as well. So I think animal communication is a fantastic tool. I think massage is a fantastic tool. I know many people who don't use communication per se in maybe in the format that you do in their sessions, but those that do, I think it enhances their massage. And I certainly feel that the communication that I have with the animals is critical to my success. And I find that the biggest thing that I use communication for is just to get guidance from the animal. So I think I am a better maybe listener than I am a communicator, but I definitely find that just being able to open that channel with the animal, and also to let them know that my presence there, I don't have an agenda for them. I'm just there for their benefit, and that I want them to tell me as much as they feel they can or need to tell me about their situation. So oftentimes, I think the animals do that either through pictures or through just kind of that emanation that you get where you actually feel their physical challenges, or just through even their physical guidance. Like, I often have horses turn around and just kind of move my hands to where they want them to be, or when I get it right, the dog is definitely going to let you know through a variety of channels, but I think communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely. I've experienced that so often. In fact, it's the majority of the time. They'll kind of turn themselves a little bit more there. We make it very clear.
Sometimes I think it's hard to go back to my human relationships and have to communicate just, mostly verbally.
Right.
Because you spend all day where you're communicating physically with the animal and energetically with the animal, and then you have to, kind of remove yourself from that to some extent,
Right.
depending on who you're sharing your time with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it gives it gives you a certain amount of sensitivity that you develop when you're doing that all the time. That actually carries over into your relationships, and that's just part of the gift that animals give us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they help us in so many ways.
And it's fun too to see when I'm working with my clients. I mean, most of my time nowadays is with my students, but I still do have a private practice. So I still have a part-time practice. And it's always fun watching my clients kind of see my relationship with their animals, and then how it sometimes opens up those channels for them that they're aware of, but maybe they weren't giving it as much time or attention as they would like. And then as they start to do that, just kind of seeing that open up and that relationship open up has been really rewarding as well. I think that's a great benefit to the work that we do, is being able to see that relationship form.
Yeah. Something seems to happen. I've had people say that when I'm working with their animal, they just start to feel more relaxed.
Oh,
So yeah, something just energetically shifts. I think their connection with their animal is coming through, and it's just it enhances it. So it's something kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, mystical or something, but it's just amazing. Kind of don't have words for it what happens, but it's really incredible.
I often think of it how people will talk about going to a foreign country and, not speaking the language or only having a little familiarity with the language, and then suddenly they find themselves in a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, I understand. Like they just immersed themselves enough to just fall into it. And I think animal communication is often like that for people as well, where, they maybe try and they don't feel like it's organic, or they're not feeling that communication, and then they just start having whatever relationship they have with their pet, and then suddenly they realize, like, oh, I'm having a conversation with them.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
natural.
Yeah, it's amazing. I find a lot of my students very quickly during the class will, and that's the point of it initially, is to help people realize where they've already been communicating with their animals. It just didn't realize it. They didn't know what to call it. So,
Or sometimes I find, especially with the horses, if I can just go back to being a young girl or a child with horses, then all of that was just, you didn't even think about it. It just was part of the relationship. So sometimes as we age, we just kind of get these layers,
right.
education or through our experiences that we think somehow it's separate from. And then just kind of being able to step back in time and say, sometimes I ask my 9-year-old self when I'm working with a horse, I might say, can you come back and tell me, like, what do I need to do for this horse, or how do I communicate this? And I think that's really helpful to just kind of be able to tap into those younger, fresher skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people are thinking about getting a massage practitioner to work with their animal, what would be the steps they would take, and what kind of training would you recommend that person have when people are doing their research? What should they be looking for?
You mean for people who are looking for a professional to work with
to hire somebody.
Well, certainly you want somebody with adequate training. I think my bar is 300 hours of training, so I would like to know that somebody has significant training in the anatomy of the animal, the behavior of that animal, common concerns or common disease conditions that might affect that animal. I also want to know that they have the massage training. So one way is people might be certified through the National Certifying Board, the organization called NABCAM or NBCAAM certify as practitioners. And so they have like a countrywide directory of their practitioners. And that's one way people can look for somebody in their area. Another way is to contact schools or vet clinics in their area to see if they have recommendations or referrals of somebody that is in the area. But I think it's asking questions about their background, their training, their I don't know the years of experience. Obviously, if you have major concerns or your animal has a very specific condition or concern, then you want somebody with some experience in that area and training in that area. So for instance, you did our rehabilitation massage program, which means you have a certain skill set that somebody who had done just the foundation level wouldn't have, but they could lend a certain level of help where you could provide a more specific tool set. So I think just asking people what their training, what their specialization is. And then you just have to find out, once you have that person come and meet you or meet with your animal, do they gel with you and your animal? You know, that's could be really important, because they could have all the training in the world, but if they don't understand your concerns for your animal, or they don't, you know, see the relationship the same way you do. It doesn't have to be the same way, but if they don't have that empathy for you and your pet, then it's not going to gel. And so I've had clients over the years where, you know, I just didn't maybe quite see what they were wanting to accomplish or what their goals were the same way they did. And so I would refer them to a different practitioner. You know, I kind of have other practitioners that have other areas of specialty. I'm not a big one myself for working with, well, I love working with geriatric animals. Obviously, we have an equine retirement program on our campus, but I don't tend to be there for end of life massages, and that's a real specialty. But fortunately, I have several of our graduates and one of our instructors who that's you know, their specialty. They're just very, very good at that. So I think it's important to be able to refer that out.
Yeah, that takes a certain level of skill and sensitivity and energy too. So you do want somebody that's in it. They want to be there to do that for you and your animal, because it's so.
And I've definitely been there for many of the animals that we have here at the farm. When it's their time, I have my own, you know, ceremony for that, and I don't like to be in that situation, but I'm glad to be witness, and I'm glad to be present for them at that time. But I just don't do the massage at that time. So it's nice to know that there's people with specific skill sets that you can rely on.
Definitely. So, and by the way, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post those. And again, if you have anybody you think of that might want to be hearing about this, you can always notify them here.
And we also, you know, we have a directory on our school site. So people, if they're looking for a practitioner, can contact the school. And if we have graduates in their area, we'll certainly try to connect to them as well.
That's great. Okay, good. So I just want to, you know, see if there's any last questions or anything else that comes to your mind, Lola, that we didn't talk about that you think might be important we didn't touch on, or.
Well, two things, just really quickly. You had asked about earlier. You asked about like what was an example of how massage really changed things for an animal, and it made me think of one particular incident where it wasn't the animal necessarily, although the animal benefited as well, but one really amazing situation that happened in class one time was we were teaching a class in New Jersey, and we had a student who had traveled from Hong Kong for the class, and he was a little concerned when we went into the kennels to do massage work because the majority of the dogs in the kennel there were pit bulls, and he was, visibly concerned about working with that breed. And so I talked to him. I asked him what his concerns were, and he said, well, in Hong Kong we don't have this breed because it's illegal, and I've never met a pit bull before, but I'm very scared of them just from my experience in seeing pictures, and so I don't know that I can work with these dogs. So I said, well, don't worry about it. You can observe this session. You can watch your classmates and watch the demo, and then we'll try and find a suitable dog for you. And but there was this one really sweet young pit bull that I kind of got him together with, and they started working together. And over the week, he just fell in love with these dogs. And at the end of the week, he couldn't get enough pictures with them, and he was hugging her.
Wow.
And he was so sad to leave her. And he said, I can't wait to go home and tell all my friends that, we're wrong. Pit bulls are not bad. Pit bulls are lovely, wonderful animals. And so, that was great. It was great for the dogs that he worked with. They got great benefit from massage. But that to me is that's why one of the reasons I do what I do is it's not just changing the animals' lives, it's changing people's lives.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And the other thing I would just quickly mention is that if people are interested in learning more about massage or animal communication or any of these great topics that you're bringing to their attention through your podcast, the National Board of Certification for Animal Acupressure and Massage is joining forces with another organization called the International Association of Animal Massage and Body Workers to offer a conference in September in Seattle. And it's going to be 3 days of continuing education opportunities. So if you want to learn more about essential oils with animals and massage for animals and animal communication, and if you're working in our industry, concerns around compassion fatigue, all of these things are going to be presented over those 3 days. A great opportunity to come and get exposed to a lot of professionals. And also a lot of different modalities. So I would encourage people to check it out. They can either go to the NABCAM site or they can contact the Northwest School of Animal Massage for information about that. I'd love to see people there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to go to that. Sounds like an amazing. Yeah, amazing.
East Coast. Hopefully, in the coming years, we'll move around the country, but it's very close to the Seattle airport. So hopefully people can make it.
Yeah, and that, excuse me, the website for the National Board of Certification for Animal Acupressure and Massage. You can just Google that. Also, I've been posting it up here, but the school that we've been talking about, that Lola is the founder of, and that is the Northwest School of Animal Massage, and their website is www.nwsam.com. I do just want to mention, if you want to stay in touch with me, you can always go to my website, intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. I have an email sign-up list there. You can go to my direct email, anthony@intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. Also, I have the Facebook group, the Animal Communication and Natural Pet Parent Community. And I made that Facebook group because I wanted people to be able to talk openly about their pets and interest in natural ways to support their pets. So that would include animal massage, animal communication, holistic animal care, and even just a place to share what people are going through with their animals that might be behavioral related, or they have a new pet coming into the home and they just want to get some thoughts from other people and talk about it. That's a good, safe place to do that. And I also post updates there about, I do sometimes little special contests like I'm doing with this show on there that other people might not be privy to unless they're in that group. So that's the Animal Communication and Natural Pet Parent Community here on Facebook, or just look for my business page and there's a link there for that. And we do have a special offer that Lola mentioned. So could you expand on that? What is the offer that you have for people?
So yeah, if you were listening to today's podcast, then we would like to offer you 10% off tuition for any of our courses that are taught and developed by Northwest School of Animal Massage. So you can visit our site. If you see a class that interests you, you can call and talk with our student service representative about the class and how to enroll, and you'll receive 10% off for listening today. And the only exception to that is we do host a few classes for other schools, including the Equitape kinesiology taping courses and horse temperament typing class through Dr. Madeline Ward. Those would not be eligible for the 10% off, but we're happy to tell you about those classes as well. But any of our school classes, we'd like to extend that offer to your listeners.
Thank you so much. And is there an end date since this will be in the replay?
Oh yeah, so usually our offerings like that are good for 90 days. So it's almost May 1st, so May, June, July. So I would say it would expire at the end of July.
Okay, so there's some great things on there. You want to go just look at that site just to see all the different classes and interesting things they have materials on there. Yeah, it's really neat. Thank you so much, Lola, for being here today. This has been so interesting and informative, and I just wish you the best. Yeah.
Well, it was great to spend time with you again, and thank you to all your listeners for joining in.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's great that you're here supporting us. And everyone have a great evening. God bless.